Hello, guys, and welcome to the Wings Mobile Detailing Podcast. Today, we're talking about a couple of steps we'll take. I'm not sure if they are 4, 5, 6, or 10, but a couple of steps of you guys auto detailing who has a go to work from home or work from an office and not being out there in the field with hands-on detailing. You want to grow your business to a point where you're managing your business from your office on the go. And that is actually how we do it with a franchise here. That's the goal that we put for whoever wants to start a franchise with us. But if you have your own business and you want to get to this point, guys, there are a lot of things you want to do. But stay with the intro and we'll get right back.
Welcome to the Wings Mobile Detailing Business and Automotive Podcast, the only podcast that will guide you on how to start and grow six-figure companies. As our team expand from one business location to worldwide domination, you will get step-by-step insights from a millennial franchisor and franchise owner with your host, Andre Mezzalera.
Important thing, as you're thinking of having employees working from office and manage your team, obviously, you gotta have employees. And what do you do to acquire employees? And once you acquire them, how do you train them and everything? So you want to definitely prepare. You definitely want to prepare to have these employees before when you're actually there in the field yourself. Because there's no better person to train your guys, the team that you have, than yourself. You know your business, and you most likely know how to do the detailing the best way. You can find great people, obviously, but you obviously want to train them, especially the first few employees that you have. And the amount of employees that you would want to have before you work from office, that's up to you. That's up to you know your numbers. You know how many vans, even if you operate a mobile detailing company, you know how many vans you are able to get, how many employees you can get before you head out. Because a lot of times you don't want to have just one employee and then start working from office, and manage them and leave one employee, because not only is it not going to be as profitable, because you're only having one guy, and pretty much you're gonna have to hire yourself, promote yourself as a manager in your own business. And a company with one employee doesn't need a manager. So you want to grow more, at least 3 or more. Even if you were to have one employee, let's say if you thought about, as soon as I get one employee, this guy going off by himself, I want to work from my home office. That's not very smart, because then what is also going to happen is you might lose him. He might go away. And that happens. It's just a matter of time, but it does happen. And then you're left off with 0 employees, and then you're going to have to go out there in the field back again. And you're going to be trapped in this cycle always. But or maybe you think, okay, I just want to have one employee and work from my home office and have my employee train somebody. My first employee, I want to have him train somebody in the future team of my company. Well, if you're thinking that way, you're most likely impatient also. And you don't want to be impatient in your business. You gotta be patient not with the actions. You want to take massive, obsessive actions, but you don't want to be impatient in regards to, I can't wait for me to just work from office, or I can't wait for me to have a secretary, or I can't wait for this. Obviously, you can't wait for it, but you don't want to be impatient to taking actions, having a secretary sooner than you can actually have one. You don't want to work from your home office. Be patient. Be out there, work in the field, understand your business, grow your team yourself, at least the first few people, because that's going to represent your company, the quality of your service. And if you have it misrepresented, meaning, your employee is not great, doesn't provide that good of a service, and you have him train somebody and pass along, it's going to get even worse. And your company is going to get affected by it in a short few months. It's not going to last. Unless you don't mind about quality of work, but then again, that's your company. And a comfortable side of having employees, guys, you want to train yourself. You want to have at least 3 or 4, I would say. have at least 2 vans before you work in your office, because you having 2 vans, then you're capable of having 4 employees or 3. If you have 1 van only, you can only have 2. So that's also not, not very expendable. You want to be patient and be out there. At the beginning, you're going to want to do a million things. You're going to have a million ideas to apply to your business. And you're going to think that, oh, your time's starting to not be worth to be out there in the field. But still, if you're not ready, you're not ready. You got to make sure that front line of your business is ready. And it's awesome to get a goal like that, man, because that's how you grow. You got to have employees to grow. And once you start having employees, that's when the hard times starts to hit you. It starts to, because at the beginning you're gonna depend on them, and it's hard to depend on people because they're never gonna work as hard as you do. They're not gonna be as reliable. So you always have to manage them. And no, I'm not afraid of saying the word micromanage, because yes, a lot of times you may actually have to micromanage your employees. You may have to, that's your business. Take care of it. You want to be close and make sure everything runs smooth. It's not a bad thing to micromanage. Make sure that you're doing everything by the manual. You don't want to be an ass. You don't want to, be an ass, because then it's going to turn against you. That's a fact. But micromanaging doesn't mean being an ass. And this fallacy where people say you don't want to micromanage, usually you hear this from people you don't want to inspire by, So follow big people, listen to a lot of podcasts, audiobooks, especially when you're out there doing the detailing yourself. You're going to have time, and learning is definitely huge to growing the business. But how do you get to work from your home office? Besides, now that you got to train at least 3 or 4 people, have 2 vans on the road if you're mobile. How do you actually get to train them and train them faster? How do you want to delegate this task of training? The best way is to prepare your training while you're there on the field doing the work yourself, not when you're from your home office, because then you're going to actually be doing the detailing yourself. You're going to have time to prepare training videos, for example. You're going to have time to prepare your first and second guy to do the service, as to not only motivate him, and he will see the growth with you, and that will motivate him. That's how you motivate people. You grow your business, and bam, you motivate them simply by you leading by example, you working hard, and showing results that you're actually growing the business. Everybody, most people actually wants to be in a growing business, and they want to be the first. And if they realize that your business is a growing business, you don't need to go out there and yell, yeah, let's do it, let's grow, we're growing. You can simply be quiet and let the results prove itself. Now guys, a way to train is training videos. When you're out there, start recording videos to where once you're working from your home office and you get new employees, and one of your guys is that good to the point where you leave him as a trainer, because you're gonna want to have a trainer. You're gonna have employee turnover. That's gonna happen. Obviously, some business they get employees that stays with them for 3, 4 years, 5 years. I have employees that is with me for that long. But guys, that's not the first employee. Unless you're very extremely lucky that you get your very first employee that stays with you for 3, 4 years. You gotta be very lucky. That's companies that get employees that stay with them for that long, it's usually their 15th employee, 20th employee. So at the beginning you're gonna have turnover. And making training videos, training manuals. What rules do you want them to follow? Do that in anywhere. Make rules. When you get to the client's house, one of the rules that we have here is we call the clients by name. They have to call the clients by their first name, and not. That's how they have to greet the clients. It's a rule. It's a small rule, but It's a rule that I decided to implement it in my business. Little rules like that. What do you leave in the car after the detail? Or when you get there, what's the rule of second sale? Your employees must try to offer additional services when they are there and must walk through the vehicle. That's a rule. And if you want to create rules like that, you want to put in a employee guideline. Wings Mobile Detailing has all that, and that's the benefit of franchising with Wings. It's because everything is ready. You're not spending time and money with that. It pays you back instantly just by having employees video where they can log in once they're hired by you. If you're with Wings franchise, you literally send your employees a link to access the training videos on how to do the detailing. Like literally you get ready employees with you. Once you hire them, you send them the link, you do the interview process with them, and bam. So guys, it's definitely worth it. Now I'm showing you guys how to do that and the reason. And let me tell you my story when I first started. And this is definitely, guys, this story that I'm gonna tell you, it's what happened in the beginning years, first 3 years in my business, that is going to put into perspective of how it goes. Because if you don't have an example of how it's supposed to be, your first trial that you go through in your business, the first hard time that you go through, you're gonna lose confidence. You might lose confidence if you don't have an example of somebody who's gone through that, and you might think, oh, all this problem that I'm having, I cannot have employees. I hire one and they go away, and I can never keep an employee with me. If you're going through that and you're starting to lose your confidence, the reason you're losing your confidence is because you don't think that's normal. You don't think that happens in my business. It happened in my business, guys, many times, and I lost confidence many times. But I was listening to so many business podcasts in the detailing as well that I started realizing, actually not detailing business, but a regular business podcast, that I started to realize that, hey, this is normal. This is supposed to happen. I'm supposed to lose employees and then start over again. I'm supposed to do that, but there are shortcuts that you can take. And let me tell you of a huge shortcut that it can help you into getting the employees right. Matter of fact, I already told you guys in this podcast, but telling you a story, like before, I had a goal when I started my business, which fortunately I reached it, of working from the office, from my home office initially, and manage my crew. But my goal was to actually have 2 vans and 4 people total, 2 people in each van. 1 or 2 trainees of them. Unfortunately, I couldn't get everybody to be a trainee because everybody wasn't good enough. I wouldn't trust them enough. So it would be, I would at least have 1 or 2, minimum of 2 actually trainees. I remember now, because I would always think ahead. I was like, okay, I can lose my trainee at any time, even though I'm paying him well, even though he says he's excited to stay in the company. You don't want to trust that. You never want to trust that. You always want to assume that you're going to lose them. So I was like, okay, let me have 2 trainers now. So if I lose one now working from office, I don't have to come back in the field. And, I can have the other guy train. So I was preparing. It used to take me months to train one guy. Fortunately, I got to a point where I was able to keep 4 guys, and I was training the 3rd guy, right? I'm sorry, I was training the 4th guy. So I was there in one of my vans, and the other 2 guys was on the other van. They were doing well, doing service every day. I was like, okay, great. After all these years, I've been 3 years in business already there by that point, 3 or 4. After all these years, I'm finally able to, next week, because I trained this last guy for the past 5 months. So next week, this guy is going to be ready to go solo, and I'll be able to work from my home office. And that was like a matter of a week. I'm not kidding here. I'm not exaggerating. Like, it was the following week that I would be able to make that transition in my business for me to work from home. And guys, when I was training this guy, the other guy that was training the other van decided to leave, and he caught me off guard because he was really well in the business, and every employee will have his own reasons for leaving. So this guy had his reasons that he wanted to leave, and I was like, no way. I was like, okay, I gotta train one more person. And mind you guys that it took me 5 months to train the guys. I was like, I'm getting back 5 months before I work from my office. I was so excited. And then that had happened in one day. That same afternoon that I was like, that morning, I got that butterfly feeling in my stomach, like feeling sick, like, oh shit, a huge setback. And setbacks will make you feel sick at times. And then that same afternoon, I was out there training this guy, still trying to keep the positive, that okay, maybe I can train this guy faster and I can work from my office, from office, and grow the business, having 3 guys on the road. Maybe that will work, And then that same afternoon, this guy that I was training wouldn't stay with me. He had to leave, and he wasn't doing that well, to be honest with you, overall. So he had to leave. And that was sad. That was a huge setback. And looking back now, guys, like, trust me, looking back now, I have, now we're a franchise, we're operating multiple locations. We grown to multiple states. But looking back now, for what I was, that wasn't, for me, if I lose the same amount of employees, that's not a huge loss at all. I mean, that happens regularly. That happens regularly still with me. But before, when I had so little, this is what crossed my mind. If it took me 5 months to train a guy, 5 or 6 months to train a guy the way I wanted to be, and it took me all these years to, have all these guys trained up to the point where they're not leaving, and it takes me 5 months to train a guy, I'm never gonna be able to work from office. Because imagine, I hired one more guy, I train him for 5 months, and then he leaves, and then that's another 10 months there they have to stay, and then they're always gonna keep leaving. Nobody stays with us forever. That doesn't happen. And I went back home. It was a very sad day, guys. It was. And in business, you're gonna go through moments that are sad days like that. You're gonna go through moments where many moments. If you're growing, if you're expanding exponentially, you're supposed to go through setbacks and hard times like these. And you're gonna doubt yourself, but don't doubt yourself to the point where you quit. And that's why. This is the reason. 95% of all businesses fail in the first 2 years. It's because of this. It's because of huge setbacks like this where they think that it's not possible, and then they quit. And let me show you how I went through this, how I overcame this. But this is the main reason businesses fail, because they lose confidence. And there's no way you're not gonna lose confidence, because the math wouldn't add up. The math didn't add up to me. Like, okay, I would never be able to work from my office, from home office, and actually grow a team, because I had to work from office, not because like it was a passion. My passion is to just grow the business regardless of what I have to do, but I know I had to work from my office so I can actually grow the business, because there were so many things to do at that point. So guys, it's not because I was lazy, I didn't want to work out there. Detailing is awesome. Now, the reason we go through doubts like this and people quit, and I'll tell you the reason I didn't quit, but the reason people quit is because they add up, the math doesn't add up. They're never going to be able to reach the next level. They're like, okay, I don't need employees, I'm just going to work self-employed in here and all that. But the reason I didn't quit, and the only way that you are not going to quit is if you follow people who's gone through this. Like, you guys are listening to my podcast, you guys are already going to expect this, you're already going to know that when this happens to you, it's normal, it's supposed to happen. So So that's why I didn't quit, because I knew it was normal. I knew that was supposed to happen. I did not. I know that I wasn't supposed to know how how I was gonna get it to the point where it works, but I knew that it was workable because I followed so many businesses, not in the same industry as ours, not in detailing. I follow different businesses, guys, but like podcasts and guys who talk about business, and they would say Andy Frisella is one of them. And I got to give credit to him. And I would follow him, and he would say how hard he had a supplement stores, how hard some of his, a lot of times he would go through trials in business that seemed like it was impossible to go through. And I hear all the successful business people saying that you got to not quit. You cannot give up, because the win is on the next side. When you're close to the bottom line, where you think you're in the bottom and you're close to, okay, I either quit or keep going without knowing how I'm going to go through this, that's the turning point of your business. That's when the big growth is going to come. And there were many times like this where, for me personally, and I didn't quit. I was like, okay, let me make things better. And then I was like, okay, if I'm not going to quit, I got to make this work. If I'm not going to quit, I got to make this work. And if you have this attitude, you're going to find a way to make it work. Like your life depended on it. That's how I treated it. Like my life depended on it. And if your life depended on it, because it does, your life depended on your business, then you're going to go through it. And if you believe in it, you got to take the action. You got to really go through. So what I did, I was like, okay, what can I make it right here? I can create training videos to train them faster, because I cannot, it wouldn't work if it took me 5 or 6 months to train each guy. And to train and find them. So it was like a few weeks for me to find an employee, and it was a couple of months for me to train them. So adding that up, it was 5 or 6 months. And two things I had to improve there. I have to find people faster. And number two, I had to train them faster. So the training them faster, that's what I did. I started creating videos, training videos, manuals, script, or what have to learn the services before they even start, and watch training videos of all the services, even for people who didn't know detailing at all. Bam, that one I covered in the beginning of this podcast. Now, to finding people, guys, I knew I needed a way to find them faster, because I would depend on referral. I would ask a friend to see who wants to work. And I would simply, what I did is I saw, where do people go to find these people? So they went to Indeed, and I started advertising on Indeed. I put some money there, and bam, it worked out. I simply find a website where people go to look for people. And I always follow Grant Cardone, where he used to say, if you feel like you need 2 of something, 10x it. If you feel like you need 2 clients, you probably need 10 times more. So at that time, I knew I needed 1 employee. I would pretend and go as crazy as if I needed 5. 10x is actually would have been 10, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna pretend I really need 5 employees. I gotta hire 5 employees here. And I went crazy after I started interviewing people, and the interviewing process was faster. So I cut the time of finding people after I found, Indeed is a great place to look for people, or ads. And number 2, I trained them faster. Now, the interview process, I also worked that out. As with time, I realized that my interview process could have gotten better, because my interview process was, first, I would interview them on the phone. I would meet with them in person, because some old-fashioned corporations were doing that, and I thought that was the norm and the right thing to do. And then I would bring them out to work with us for a ride along. So there were like 4 stages. I started getting so good at interviewing people on the phone that I could tell if they were good or not just by talking to them on the phone. So I skipped the part of in-person interview. I asked them for their documents, be like, hey, we got a ride along, a first day ride along. You come out with us. This is the next part of the interview. You come work with us, and that's the best way we see if you're the right fit. And if it works out, you're hired. And see, I could have processed. The interview process was shorter, faster, better, and the training part, after those training videos, the documents I started to create. At the beginning, they're all gonna be sketchy. At the beginning, it's gonna take a couple of months for you to build that. That's why you should franchise with Wings, because everything is ready. I mean, you would have to spend money anyways. Why don't you spend money on something that will actually bring you real results, and you're gonna get all this. So that's how it went. I improved my interview process, and within, guys, I hired the first guy. I still had 2 months ahead of me there. So, and mind you, I was with plans to buying a third van, right? But that was like a few months later, so everything would halt. It would go to a stop or delayed. But then this makes my process faster. I hire them, I interview them with the right questions, and then I start training them and ask them to, hey, you gotta watch all these videos, all these detailing videos that, how we operate here in my business. You really have to watch it, and then I would train them way faster, and I would trust them that I needed only 2 weeks to train each guy, not 4 months. Literally 2 weeks could get them ready. And then that was the process, guys. That's, there's no magical formula. I guess, there's no, if you're expecting, you do this one thing, it still takes work. Everything takes work. But guys, you not quitting is what's gonna move you forward. And I'll record other podcasts to give you example of other times where I was really close to quitting and I didn't. And after a month after that process, where I was getting butterflies and everything was going wrong, almost crying, that it was from there that was the leap. That was after that step. The business usually grows exponentially right after the moment that you think you lost everything and you're about to quit. And then working from home, guys, after a few months, I was able to prepare more guides that I needed and start taking phone calls, focusing on marketing, think a lot of ideas, and still go out there, and I would be the supervisor in my business. Right? So when I'm working from home, I would still go out there. And this is another mistake that I made. And half of you guys are probably going to listen and half are not. But this is really important. Because when you work from your home office, you're like, you don't want to get you don't want to get comfortable also, but that's not what happened. When you work from your home office, I would be like, okay, my time is much more valuable, and it was. My time was much more valuable work from home, waking up, managing the business from my home office, and didn't have a home office back then. It was from home. So managing my business from home. The next day I would wake up and I'll let the guys take the lead. I'll trust the front line of my business completely on my trainers and on my employees. Meaning, like, obviously I would call them and see how everything went. I would call every single client that was part of the management that I would work from home, but I wouldn't be me personally. I'm talking about myself now. I wouldn't be out there myself. I wouldn't have the physical work that I once had. And that is important for your mind, guys. When you go out, when you stop going out there and you're working from your office, even though you know that your time is better spent growing your business from the office there, or going out, code selling to dealerships, but not doing the detailing yourself with your guys, you have to continue to do it. At least one car, at least help one of your employees with a morning client. Every morning you go out from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. It doesn't have to be a lot. Every morning still go out there, because your mind, you're going to start getting, not only you're going to depend too much on your employees, and you're still at the beginning with 4 employees and 2 vans. Like, you're still at the beginning. You don't have enough to trust 100% of your business on your guys. You're still at the beginning, because you're not big enough to have supervisors, to have even a manager, a trainer. You have a trainer but not supervisor. You're not big enough to have that, so you got to be the supervisor. And what does the supervisor do? The supervisor goes out there and is in the field with your guys. That's what the role of a supervisor is, to supervise the team and being out there, not from the phone. And you got to still do that. You are a supervisor, and that is gonna prevent your business from going downhill, from the quality of service to start degrading, and from you not knowing what's going on in your business. And your business is the front line. That's gonna prevent you from doing that. So still go out there, and not only that, but it's not gonna get you into a funk. It's not gonna get you like slowly, because if you work only from your office, especially at the beginning, if you're not used to it, but everybody needs to be out there. Like, trust me, when you work from your office for a week, it's gonna feel amazing, but then you're gonna need to be out there. You going out there, physical work, not you physical work, but being out there, that helps your mind. And when you come back much more productive. And your business at the end of the day will prosper. So do not work only from your home office. Only start working from your home office 100% when you really know you're ready. And you're gonna know. You're gonna know when you're ready to become the manager of your business. That before you're a manager and a supervisor, but then you promote yourself to manager. Guys, now under Wings Mobile Detailing, obviously we got trainers, we have supervisor. Per each location we have a supervisor, each location we have a trainer. We have managers who actually takes the phone calls. We have sales people who takes the phone call for a business to sell the services. So we got all of that. So now it really it would be crazy. It wouldn't even work for me to go out there work unless I want to, but our business is stable. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. The business is stable, and that's where the patience will come. The patience, you have to have patience, because you don't want to rush too much into, okay, now I'm a manager when you're supposed to be a supervisor, So you don't want to rush that, because if you don't build a strong foundation of your business, there's strong pillars to sustain your business, the building's gonna fall. If you don't have a strong foundation in a building, the building falls, and you don't want your business to fall. So guys, to summarize it, train employee faster, interview them faster, but not with less quality. You learn how to do it. You know the right questions to ask. I even have a podcast for that. Cut the training shorter, not by training them faster and with less quality, but by providing more resources to them, training videos, do the documents. You gotta spend time and work hard to do that, create all that. And then after that, when you're ready with 2 vans, at least 4 guys working, maybe you are ready, and you're the only one who will know your finances. Then you work from your office, but not full time. You're not a manager, you're still a supervisor. So go out there every morning with one of your team. Go with one team first, the other morning go with the other one, and you're gonna know exactly what's happening every single day in your business. And you're gonna go back home the same morning. You're gonna go back home and do your office work. Guys, this is it. I hope this helps. Subscribe to this podcast. Check out franchise.wingsmobiledetailing.com. If you're really thinking about expanding your business, or self-employed, maybe you just want clients, work by yourself, then guys, still great opportunity. Thank you very much.